Ja, hej på er och god kväll. Välkomna till raketstart och den 13:e flygningen av SpaceX Starship. Ja, vad jag vet just nu så håller de på och tankar. Ni ser bilder från en NASA Spaceflight just nu. Ska se, jag ska jämt ta och flytta kameran lite grann. Oj, inte den. Så att ni ser lite mer så. Där. Ja, de håller på och tankar. Allt verkar gå som det ska. 26 minuter kvar till take-off. Ja, förra gången så gick det ju inte helt enligt plan där. Det var ju som jag trodde där, det som jag beskrev i min lilla analys efter testet, att man sköt iväg Boostern åt fel håll. De har bekräftat ungefär 90 graders fel blev det där, och det var ju i princip det vi kunde se, att den gick iväg åt sidan istället för uppåt, vilket orsakade det här är en ren spekulation, man orsakade så att bränsle inte blev helt optimalt placerat i tankarna och gjorde så att inte motorerna startade, de gick sönder för de inte hade bränsle, och så gick det som det gick. Skeppet däremot klarar sig ju ganska bra faktiskt. Hade väl lite otur med en motor där som inte klarade sig. De blev av med en helt enkelt. Men däremot så kunde de visa att de klarar att bli av med en motor då, vilket är bra att ha den redundansen så att säga på farkosten. I den här flygningen kommer i princip ske på samma sätt som den förra, men vi hoppas att den går bra. De kommer inte att fånga Boostern eller skeppet. De kommer landa, om allt går som det ska, så kommer de landa Boostern precis utanför Starbase där då, i Texas. Skeppet kommer att landa som vanligt i närheten av Australien. Där kommer vi ju se de har placerat ut bojar som vanligt där, så vi kommer väl se när den landar ifall vi kommer dit. Men det hoppas jag att vi gör. Ska vi se. Vi vet att SpaceX har påbörjat sin sändning, så jag tänkte vi ska hoppa över till den. Jag har lite fler vyer här som jag har koll på och har lite bättre koll rent generellt sett på allting vad som händer och sker. SpaceX släppte ju här i veckan också en dokumentär. Har inte namnet på den helt och hållet så här, men där de visar en del angående förra flygningen i alla fall då, och själva Ground Zero som man kallar det, alltså själva startplattan där. Men jag tänker att vi hoppar in på streamen här, och så kommer jag vara med och kommentera lite på den. Får se lite hur det går med min internetuppkoppling, för jag har tydligen valt det här jättebra datumet att byta tjänst idag, så att jag hoppas att det kommer att funka. Men är det något som strular så vet ni varför. Så vi hoppar över helt enkelt till SpaceX stream, vart jag nu har gömt den. Ska vi se. Där ska den vara. Så ska vi slå på lite ljud där.
Almost exactly like a bike chain, except for it's 380 pounds, and the chop carriage weighs a lot, and so it basically broke one of those links. The chain got bound up, and the day after static fire, we called our buddies at the Cape. We had some spare units over there for building the Cape towers. We're able to hot shot to overnight the chain to us, got the old chain torn apart, got the new one put together, flew it up, and the morning after that, we were ready to rock.
With these ones, make sure we're going up. Arriba.
It was on the order of like 30 hours, 36 hours from we found the problem to had it fully back in service. On like an item that was not really designed to be very serviceable. To be able to come up with a scrappy plan, temp support it with cranes, get in there and boogie is like, that's like just classic SpaceX nonsense.
Man, I love this docu-series. It's not just behind the scenes, it's in the scenes.
It's a day in the life of working here at Starbase. It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, if that scrappy problem solving that Steyer described inspires you, if you want to be a scrappy problem solver with us and the team here, come on over and help us build the future. All right, let's meet the rocket there on the pad, Starship version 3, the most powerful rocket ever developed, ever flown.
That's right. At just over 407 feet tall, fully stacked, it is massive. Standing at the base and looking up is like looking up at a 40-story building. Insane.
It's crazy. It's a two-stage rocket. Both stages are designed to fly to Earth to return to Earth and fly again, making this the first fully reusable rocket ever. The bottom half, or the first stage, is the Super Heavy booster. That's the silver part at the bottom. It's powered by 33 of our newest iteration Raptor 3 engines, you see them there, and those run on liquid methane and oxygen. This version of Raptor provides a significant increase in thrust. With that additional thrust, fun fact, this version of Starship gets off the pad faster than our previous versions. Here you can see version 1 Starship on the left, V2 in the middle, and V3 on the right. That was our first flight of V3 on Flight 12, and that thing just leaps off the pad.
That's right. Now, Super Heavy also has 3 grid fins now, which you can think of as aerodynamic rudders to help steer during landing. They're 50% larger than on the previous booster version and are designed to support rapid reuse and a more stable atmospheric reentry.
At the top of the booster is the hot stage adapter. It's designed to protect the booster during separation and is now fully integrated for reusability.
And stacked right above that is our upper stage of the rocket, or stage 2, which is what we call ship. It's powered by 6 Raptor engines, 3 optimized for sea level performance, and 3 for the vacuum of space.
Ship's design could one day enable point-to-point transfer on Earth, meaning you could travel anywhere on the planet, just like an airplane, but this time in an hour or less. It's designed to carry massive orbital payloads, cargo and crew, to Earth orbit, the Moon, Mars, and beyond.
And for the first time, we're carrying real Starlink V3 satellites to space. For more on that, let's head out to California, where Tyler is standing by with the team in Hawthorne. How's it going, Tyler?
Hey, thank you so much, Kate and Nate. I'm Tyler Lionquist, a Starlink business analyst here at SpaceX. And for those of you who have been following along, the Starlink version 3 satellites have been designed to take full advantage of Starship's payload capacity. We're going to get our first look at those satellites today. The Starlink V3 is our next-gen satellite and includes meaningful increases in capacity, data density, and power generation. We'll be adding around 20 times the capacity into the constellation on each Starship mission as compared to the version 2 satellites that we currently launch on Falcon. That means that we'll be able to serve more people all around the world with increasingly better high-speed internet. Like all of the Starlink satellites, the V3s are built at Starlink's site in Redmond, Washington, where we already build more satellites than anyone else in the world today. The Starlink V3 sats are designed to support 1 terabit per second of downlink and 160 gigabits per second of uplink capacity. That's approximately a 10 times improvement in downlink capacity and a 22 times increase in uplink capacity from the version 2 Starlink satellite. Serving this capacity to and from customers are the satellite's upgraded phased array antennas. The upgraded phased arrays are fed by SpaceX's in-house developed chips that were designed to serve customers more efficiently in both densely and sparsely populated regions simultaneously. Each Starlink V3 satellite is also equipped with 6 high-capacity 400 gigabit space lasers. These 6 lasers will allow high-bandwidth traffic to flow uninterrupted between any 2 points in the world with redundant paths across a petabit laser mesh network. And if that wasn't enough, the V3s will carry 4 quad-band radio frequency backhaul antennas. These will take advantage of the Ka, E, V, and W communication bands, allowing for an 8 times improvement in the supported capacity compared to our V2 sats. Now that's a lot of growth in capacity and capability. And as such, the new satellite design requires more power. So the solar arrays on V3 will generate approximately twice as much power as the current arrays that we fly on the V2 satellites. And they're also optimized to reduce drag in the lower orbital altitudes in which these satellites will operate. But before we operationalize these satellites, we want to put them in a flight-like environment. So these satellites were just loaded into Starship yesterday ahead of today's launch. And once deployed, the Starlink team will only have about 20 minutes of flight to speed run some tests before the sat's demise in the atmosphere. Now, the team will attempt to run tests such as extending the new solar arrays and antennas, connecting with ground stations, and turning on the satellite's communication systems. And this is all part of SpaceX's iterative process to technology advancement. And from the beginning, Starlink was designed to scale rapidly and improve continuously. From production to launch and ground infrastructure, Starlink is uniquely positioned to keep pace with rising demand around the world. In fact, just this week, we rolled out the next generation Starlink kit V5, which is built for reliable, high-speed home internet.
Ja, kan väl nämna här att som sagt tidigare har de inte haft riktiga satelliter ombord på skeppet, utan det har varit dummy-satelliter. Så att ja, det är första gången de skjuter de riktiga satelliterna, men de kommer som sagt störta ner i havet när de är färdiga, när de är alltså efter, tillsammans med Starship i princip då. Så att ja, hoppas att allting går bra. De kommer som sagt ha kameror på de här också. I alla fall på några stycken. Så att ja, och vi håller koll på lite grann nu här. De håller på att tanka fortfarande. Ungefär halva boostern fylld. De har redan påbörjat att kyla ner motorerna. Nästa steg som kommer fram här är 02.50. Då ska allt vara klart med det bränsle där. Så ja, vi hoppar in igen i streamen.
To launch the number of satellites that we're talking about, because we plan to deploy up to 1 million AI satellites, and those are going to function as orbital data centers, leveraging Starship for that high volume, low cost launch. There's a couple of reasons why moving data centers to space has some pretty immediate advantages over building them here on Earth, which takes us to our next limiting factor, and that's power generation. Because guess what? It's always sunny in space. Satellites can harness near constant solar energy. I mean, you're tapping into an energy source that becomes the only way to scale if AI continues to grow at the pace that it is, especially when you contrast it with all of the challenges we see here on Earth. Within about 2 to 3 years, we believe space-based AI compute will become the lowest cost option as launch costs drop and Earth-based power constraints grow. So it's going to just transform how our planet powers AI. And to unlock all of that, we get to our third limiting factor. We need to make significantly more chips, and we got to do it fast. And that's where we're going with Terafab. This is going to be the most epic chip building effort ever. And we say epic, you just look at the scale of this thing. That's the size of a Tesla gigafactory, about 10 million square feet. We need to think bigger. We're looking at about 100 million square feet, so you're talking 10 gigafactories worth of space. It all sounds a bit fantastical, a bit out there, but all of this together represents a step towards becoming a galactic civilization, harnessing more power from our nearest star, supporting the reality-shifting AI applications that are coming, and advancing humanity's multiplanetary future. So if you want to learn more about that, you can watch that full conversation on our website at SpaceXAI/StarMine. So a lot of really cool stuff coming. Kate, future looking pretty sweet, but first things first, Flight 13.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The future is built on progressive steps like today's test. Now, let's dive into the flight profile.
Right, so today we'll be starting with liftoff of Pad 2 here at Starbase. Super Heavy will ignite those 33 Raptor 3 engines, and we will then power through ascent ahead of our hot stage separation, which is when the booster will shut down all but 5 engines at the bottom. Stage 2 will then light its own Raptor engines, pushing off a Super Heavy and starting that hot stage separation. We will then have the directional booster flip, with Super Heavy igniting those 33 Raptor engines, and after coasting for a few minutes, the booster will then target a landing burn and splash down a few miles off the coast of Starbase.
Ship keeps the fun going with its ascent burn to a suborbital trajectory. We then deploy those 20 Starlink V3 satellites, and we plan to relight a single Raptor engine. Re-entry then follows a few minutes later, which should provide some amazing views via Starlink of the ship's blistering re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere. A plasma blanket will form around the vehicle, and this never fails to provide epic scenes as the vehicle comes back. And lastly, we'll conclude today's test with a landing flip, landing burn, and a splashdown in the Indian Ocean. And with that, let's kick it back up to Dan for a countdown update.
Hey, thanks, Kate. Good news is very little news. We are continuing to look on track for a liftoff today, not tracking any issues on the vehicle or the pad side. Range status continues to be green. Reminder, we're tracking the range out in the Gulf off the coast of Starbase where we're launching over, and then also out in the Indian Ocean where we're hopefully sending a Starship in just about 11 minutes from now. Weather looks gorgeous. Blue skies, low winds, couple of clouds, not a concern for flight today. And again, the vehicle and the pad both looking great. We are in kind of the latter stages of propellant loading. We got into the go, no go with the flight control team at about T-minus 1 hour. And then we've been loading prop for about, quick math, about 26 minutes now. We're going to continue loading propellant, that's your liquid oxygen, your liquid methane, onto both of these vehicles until just a little over 2 minutes before we lift off. We'll close out on the ship at about 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and on the booster before that at about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So at the moment, we're looking good. We're counting down to the very top of our window. It was a 90-minute window. It opens right at 5:45 p.m. Central Time. Looking good to hit that right at the top. Back over to you guys.
Thanks, Dan. Now, as teams prepare for today's launch from Texas, work is also continuing on the other side of the Gulf in Florida, where Starship will soon be launching, potentially later this year.
That's right. Starship flights from Florida will initially lift off from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Teams are working through Starship system activations, performing initial tower chopstick motion tests, confirming the operation of the hold downs on the launch mount, and performing multiple integrated tests of the propellant farms, water farm, diverter, and launch mount. With Starship coming to 39A, the launch complex will soon have 2 operational pads for 2 very different rockets with Starship and Falcon Heavy. It has been awesome to see the 39A Starship program come to life over several years, and it's going to be exciting to soon see a Starship launch from this historic pad.
Yeah, we're super excited. But 39A isn't SpaceX's only pad in Florida. Just a few miles down the coast at Space Launch Complex 37, the first of 2 Starship launch pads at that site is quickly taking shape. Pad 37A is targeted to be ready for flight operations early next year, which is very fast considering we only started construction on the pad in November. This year, teams have worked through ground preparations at the pad and fuel farms while also fully excavating the flame trench for Pad 37A. In June, stacking began of the launch and catch tower, and you can see that there on your screen. And we have plans to complete that stacking in the coming weeks.
And a few miles west of Pad 37 is our Cape Giga Bay, where all Starship vehicles in Florida will be processed for flight. Recently, teams finished erecting all of the building steel and are now working to finish the exterior of the structure. In the coming weeks, SpaceX will complete activation of the first crane in the building, set up the first integration stands, and complete platform work to be ready for supporting the first Starship vehicles that will arrive in Florida. We'll transport the rockets from Texas to Florida, and honestly, it's just going to be so exciting to see a Starship take flight from the Space Coast. Especially exciting as I had the opportunity to play a role in the Starship Cape program in my previous role, so
that's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Clearly, SpaceX's future in Florida is coming together quickly with planned launches already on the horizon, including regular trips to the moon. And speaking of the moon, NASA recently announced the Artemis 3 crew for the next moon mission. Let's head back up to Dan for more on that.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I mean, we're not going to take a minute. We're not going to take a minute to nerd out a little bit about the moon. So NASA just announced the Artemis 3 mission. That's going to be a crewed demonstration flight into low Earth orbit designed to demonstrate a lot of the critical systems needed for future lunar landings. We've got our astronaut crew, 4, 3 from NASA, 1 from the European Space Agency. Randy Bresnik, Luca Parmitano, Frank Rubio, and Andre Douglas are going to crew that mission slated for 2027. That's going to be the penultimate mission, the final test. before Artemis attempts to put astronaut boots back on the moon for the first time since 1972. For our part, we're going to be launching a Starship with a docking port on the nose so we can practice rendezvous and docking with the crew inside of Orion. One of our key test objectives is going to come after docking, where we're going to be able to test out the maneuverability of both vehicles while they're connected. This has some extra importance as the revamp plan for the Artemis landing missions are going to use Starship to do the burn that sends astronauts to the moon from Earth orbit. And one other cool ad that just came out today, NASA is going to be putting 2 SpaceX mini lasers on Orion to connect it to our Starlink constellation, where we already use thousands of lasers today. And they're going to be doing that with the goal of enabling 4K imagery and video from the spacecraft while they're in space. So a lot of excitement planned for next year as we all work together to send humans back to the moon, begin building a moon base, get to that future where anybody that wants to go to the moon is going to hopefully be able to go to the moon. So lots of really cool stuff to come. For now, though, we're at T-minus 6 minutes, 18 seconds into today's launch, and we're getting into terminal count. So let's zoom in. So range continues to be green. Weather continues to be gorgeous. We are getting into the final stages of propellant loading on both stages of Starship. Again, we're putting liquid oxygen, liquid methane on both the booster and the ship. Ship has main tanks. It also has those small header tanks in the very top and the nose of the vehicle that we're going to fill up. We're going to close out on the ship at about 2 minutes and 10 seconds before launch, and then the booster at about 2 minutes and 50. Once we're completely done prop loading, you've got about 11.5 million pounds of liquid propellant on board both stages. Then we start to get the pad itself ready for launch. We do what's called pushbacks. That's you're clearing out all of those propellant feed lines that have been flowing from the tank farm into the tower, into the vehicles, push it back into the tank farm, and then we also start purging all of those lines with an inert gas, just getting it ready for launch. We'll do final thrust vector steering controls on our Raptor engines at about T-minus 100 seconds and then T-minus 60 seconds. If a hold is needed, shocking change, it's now going to come at T-minus 60 seconds. That's a new time. We've balanced out a couple of our final checks that happened before liftoff, and we moved them a little bit earlier before we start flying, so that time is now at T-minus 60. That's the point where we can pause to wait. We'll only hold there if there's an issue, and we can recycle back.
Minus 60 seconds passes, a number of events will occur in rapid succession. Both the ship and booster will configure their comm systems for flight and will rapidly run leak checks on gas and fluid tanks. The booster will also go to internal power and its engines will get its final priming for launch, while the ship's engines begin their ascent bleed profile and it arms the automatic flight safety system. There's a lot of mechanical activations on the tower side as well, with one critical step, unlatching the quick disconnect feeding propellant into the ship.
And once T-minus 60 seconds has passed, there is still the ability to rapidly recycle the count under certain conditions back to that T-minus 60 second hold point. We can hold there and assess what happened and if teams can proceed again to T0. We've got about 5 to 8 minutes of hold time, and that will largely be driven by the propellant temperatures.
Ja, då har vi ungefär 1 minut kvar till så att hela Starship är klart med bränslet enligt om det följer tidsplanen. Sen så har vi då i alla fall på boostern då. Sen är det ungefär snart 1 minut kvar tills skeppet ska vara klart. Ser ju grafiken där på vänster sida. Ska vi se. Och sen så nu så hade de ju bytt till 60 sekunder där de kommer holda. Jag tror de kommer göra det. De brukar holda vid 40 sekunder i alla fall en liten stund. Så vi får väl se om de gör det. Och där kan de då stå stilla en stund. Så att, men det gissar jag på att de gör. Men sen går det neråt. Får vi se ifall de får något fel den här gången. Eller ifall den går rätt igenom. Om de har fixat till allt det här. Gjort det här mer pålitligt, alla systemen. Vi får se.
Again, we're looking a little over 11.5 million pounds of propellant on both of these vehicles. We are not currently tracking any holds on the board. which is always good news. Reminder, we have that built-in hold at T-1 minute. We're only going to stop there if we run into an issue where we need a couple of minutes to hang out. But right now we have no holds on the board. So a lot on deck for Starship, the second flight of Starship version 3, Booster version 3, Raptor 3, looking to get off the pad here in 2 minutes.
Ja, i princip
All right,
klart
so we are
med
closing the fill drain valves for both
bränslet.
vehicles. So we have finished out our propellant loading. 33 Raptor engines right there at the bottom of the booster getting ready to light up.
Vi ser, där fick
Final
vi
wiggle checks happening now. You can see those inner 13 engines moving.
motorerna. Rätt att se.
Those are the ones that Super Heavy is going to be using to steer, do all its maneuvers.
Nu kommer vi snart ner till
Just got through those. Okay, so we are
Holdet här,
1 minute,
om
20
det
seconds away, counting down.
blir någon hold.
We're going to listen in. Again, not tracking a hold, so we should move right past T-1 minute.
Säger att de
We
inte har något.
recycle
Det
back
brukar
to it.
alltid komma
We'll
något.
figure out why, and then we'll continue counting down. So let's go. T-1 minute. Let's listen in. Let the rocket do the talking. See if we can get a Starship off the pad today.
Se, real hold direkt. Som sagt, så att de
We
brukar
did
vänta där.
trigger a hold.
Se. Jag kommer vara med och
So again, we have this hold built in. We've
don't
got a
time out,
couple of
time out,
checkouts that are going to happen on the vehicle and the pad that we've got to clear. A lot of it's tied to essentially the different pressures that are in the systems that are feeding prop into the vehicles. Looks like we are getting ready to reset that hold go. And the clock is rolling.
kör vi. 30 sekunder. Då kommer vi köra go, no go för launch. Om det inte blir en ny hold. Ja. Det verkar gå bra. Nästa steg är 70 sekunder kvar. Där kommer flight-diverten gå igång. Enligt tiden här. Vi ser, det verkar inte som att det händer där. Där kommer den igång. Då verkar det som att det går bra, så vi kör igång och ser om allting flyter på. Gick inte alls som det skulle.
And we did trigger a hold right at startup there. You saw we got a hold on the booster. So stick with us for a second.
Där startar ju en sväng. Känns konstigt.
So we did trigger a hold on the booster that aborted our liftoff as we were starting to light those Raptor engines. As a reminder, since we already turned the diverter on, we are going to be scrubbed for the day. The team's already starting to pull for offload of both vehicles, so starting to get the prop off. We'll take a little bit of time to look into what triggered that abort. Usually we'll take some data review for all of our teams. But again, we did abort on the startup of the booster. So we weren't tracking any holds moving in to those final seconds into that final minute. But that is going to be a scrub for the day. So the team's now moving into commodity offload. We're going to take the methane and the oxygen off of both Starship and Super Heavy.
Ja, det var ju typiskt då. Men som sagt, ja.
So not the end result you're looking for, but we've got vehicle there still on the pad, and they're going to get these commodities offloaded. We'll take some time, dig into what triggered that abort once the booster was igniting to launch, and then we'll figure out what our path forward is going to be. Again, if you're just jumping in, we're not going to be launching today. We got all the way down to startup, triggered a hold on the booster, and that shut down the engines right as they were starting to ignite. All right, so at this point, they're going to get into offload. We're going to get all the methane, all the oxygen off the vehicle, and then we'll figure out next steps. So, no Starship launch today. We'll dig in with the team.
Ja. Det där var inte riktigt bra. Men med tanke på att det blev en sån kort start där, så de hade ju ett liknande problem där när de körde en static fire på första boostern, och där behövde de ju faktiskt typ byta ut motorerna, för de trodde de skulle att de blev skadade då, eftersom de stängdes av så pass fort efter att de hade startat. Så frågan är här hur det kommer gå då. Men så att vi stänger av här. Jag har inte så mycket mer att säga. Det blir en scrub. Får se om de lyckas att köra nytt försök imorgon eller om de väntar ännu längre då. Med tanke på att det kanske har blivit motorskador på boostern där, så skulle det inte förvåna mig ifall de behöver destacka och kontrollera motorerna. Men det återstår att se. Jag tackar för mig och tack alla som tittar in. Så kommer det upp en ny stream så snart som vi har fått ett nytt datum och en ny tid, så att säga. Så att ha det fint, så hörs vi. Tack.